Welcome to the show. Today my guest is Rayen Belchere. He's the frontman for the band Early Ray. They are a country rock band from South Carolina. So I talked to him about a lot of stuff. Growing up in the South, Southern cuisine, growing up a heavy metal fan, playing with a lot of the heavy metal bands that he was a fan of, and he toured with a guy named Wednesday 13, kind of like a Marilyn Manson type band, and he played with Motley Crue and Alice Cooper and Slayer and all these other famous heavy metal bands. And then, of course, we talk about his friendship with Jani, the singer of Warrant. And now with his country band Early Ray, they do it's not really a cover, it's more of a reimagining of the song Cherry Pie. They've called it now Apple Pie. It's got different lyrics. So check that out. We also talk a little bit about movies and filming locations because he likes to visit famous pop culture locations just like me. So it was a lot of fun. It's great chatting with him and fun to have him on. Enjoy it.
Hello?
Ray.
Hey.
How's it going?
Good. How you doing, buddy?
Good. Welcome to my show.
Good, man. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for doing this. Yeah. So you go by just Ray, right? I mean, your full name is Rayen Belchere, though, right?
Yeah, I go by Rayen. You can call me Ray, Ryan. I get it all. So I'm if you just say R or something, I usually get it. My last name is kind of hard to pronounce as well, Belchere, but it's what I was given. So, yeah. But you can call my name Rayen, like the fabric, except E-N.
Okay.
Rayen.
Okay, Rayen. Yeah. So you're from Rock Hill, South Carolina. So I tried to do a little bit of research on that city. You guys had a lot of good football players from there. One of them, I'm a big Seahawks fan, so Jadeveon Clowney's from there. I don't know if you knew that.
I did know that. He works out at LA Fitness, the same gym I go to, and with Stephon Gilmore from the Patriots and Chris Hope, who used to play for the Steelers. We're a big football town. I actually played for the same elementary school football team, Pee Wee League team as Clowney. So
Wow.
I think I read per capita, like city size versus how many NFL players they produce. We're number one in the country.
Dang, I believe they are because it's a smaller town, right?
Well, we used to be up until about 5 years ago. We started growing out. Charlotte started growing so big it grew into Rock Hill, but we're right past the state line of North Carolina into South Carolina. But we've become a little bit bigger of a small town. But 5 years ago everybody knew each other. Now it's kind of starting to get a lot of new people coming in, a lot of new construction, a lot of new stuff. It's kind of like everywhere.
Okay. So are you by that south of the border town? Did you ever visit there?
That on the south of the border, like the gift shop?
It's like a Hispanic or a Mexican themed town. We went to North Carolina and we wanted to go to Myrtle Beach and stuff, so we drove all through North and South Carolina. But I remember seeing that and thinking it has like a big water tower with a sombrero. It was kind of a kind of touristy kind of place.
Yeah, I passed through there a bunch of times, and they used to have a zoo, which is
really
crazy, but. Yeah, but I think it was kind of one of those Tiger King zoos where it was a little sketchy, so he got shut down.
Yeah, I believe that.
Got shut down, but yeah, it's a little wild down here in South Carolina.
Yeah, how would you? Because I think people have this perception of the South. I know I did, and I was kind of excited to go visit and see, Southern culture. I thought it would be like a real Southern culture, and I thought it'd be so much different. And we landed in Charlotte. And Charlotte is it's like any other city. You couldn't tell the difference between that and Denver. But, Rock Hill, I'm assuming is a little bit more, is there more Southern culture there?
Yeah, depending on what type of stuff you're looking for. If you're looking for Southern food, it's a really good idea to do research or ask the local, because there's a lot of chains down here who try to disguise themselves as Southern food.
Yeah.
So if you want to go to, let's say you're like, hey, I want to check out, a honky tonk, like a real live, like, what was that movie? John Travolta was in, Urban Cowboy, like that kind of honky tonk.
Yeah.
They exist everywhere. You just got to look for, you just have to know somebody or you have to do some research. So if you ever get back down this way and you want to see some traditional Southern kind of vibe and culture, just hit me up. I'll be happy to help you out.
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, because I remember we went down there and I was looking for, oddly enough, because I know we'll get to this, your new song Apple Pie, but I was looking for a good, home cooked like meal with like a slice of pie. Like, so I wanted to go to a diner and have pie, and I couldn't
Oh
find a
man.
diner with pie. It was when we drove all through North and South Carolina. It was insane.
Well, you probably, without even knowing it, passed 50 of them. But
Really, I
again,
definitely passed a lot of
yeah,
churches. I will say that we did see a lot of churches.
yeah. There's a lot of churches, but there's a lot of those places. It's really weird because of a lot of the growth and a lot of the chain restaurants, a lot of the really small southern kind of cooking places.
Yeah.
They don't even advertise. They don't even advertise.
Oh.
They don't even have a sign out front because they're so busy with locals who want to just continue enjoying the food they like. It's not to get rid of people. It's just to manage what they can manage. But yeah, if you ever get back down this way, man, let me know. I'll send you a proper list of some great spots.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Once the pandemic thing is over and people can travel. But so, like, speaking of food, now your mom was a short order cook. So did she have any good Southern dishes that she cooked up for you guys?
Oh man, absolutely. My mom, down in the South, there's pretty standard places, and they're everywhere, but especially here, it's like a three veggie and a meat plate kind of place. And my mom cooked, collard greens, cabbage, stew, meatloaf, sweet potatoes, fig pie, apple pie, pumpkin pie, cakes. I mean, it's just, I'm a big boy for a reason. So let's put it that way.
Yeah, you're making me hungry. So does she goes out and works and cooks? Does she come home and cook, or is she like, it's like, I always wonder that kind of stuff. Like with people who are housekeepers, or they go home and they live in a messy house because they're so sick of doing that, or is she just like, I'll just cook more and cook for you boys too, or?
No, my mom grew up, she, back in, I don't know, small town days of Rock Hill, and the education system wasn't that great, and she dropped out of school. They wouldn't take her in a particular school for a lot of reasons. They weren't taking certain kids in certain areas, so she dropped out and learned how to cook. So when she learned how to cook, that became her pride and joy. So she loved cooking for us more than cooking at the restaurant.
Okay.
But she was she still will call me up and be like, come over, grab food. She loves it. That's when you meet a Southern lady who takes pride in her cooking, she'll get up in the middle of the night and cook for you. She's like, okay, let's cook at 2 a.m. You hungry? I back in the day when I was a kid, I'd come home from playing at little garage band shows around town, and be 1 a.m. and she'd wake up and she'd be like, you hungry? So no, she was, that's her pride and joy. That's something she takes a lot of pride in, is being a good cook.
Oh, for sure. Okay. And then, so your dad, he was a mill worker and he coached football and baseball. So I'm assuming, or I think I know that you did play football. You almost went to University of South Carolina, right? So you played sports growing up a lot. That was a big part of your life.
Yeah. I'm a gigantic person. I'm built like a tight end. I'm 6'4", 200 and whatever pounds now. I don't even know, but my dad was grooming me to be an athlete, and I was struggling with it because I found Kiss Alive in my brother's room, and I became obsessed. And my brother, who is like 5'10", was the one who was obsessed with being an athlete. It was like we were born in the wrong bodies.
Whoops.
But yeah, but my brother was a starting quarterback at the local high school, all-star guy, and played baseball in college for a minute and tried out for the football team. But back then, our team, South Carolina, which we're still, no powerhouse, but those were the years of going 0-11.
Oh.
So having recruiters come to your school and go, that guy. Back then, the recruiters would come to your school, high school, and go, who's the biggest guy at school? They would be like, on the team? No, at the school. And they would get you and say, hey, you ever thought about playing football? Just like they find these soccer players or these basketball players in other countries and go, come play football, and they never played. And I got soft recruited to go play, but it just wasn't for me. I wanted to go to LA and try to be a rock star. So
yeah, so you discovered your brother's Kiss records, and you became a big Kiss fan. Did you ever put on the makeup?
oh yeah, dude, I still do it occasionally for Halloween. Absolutely.
So then you were a
There's
fan.
photos.
Oh, really?
No, yeah, on my Facebook and stuff, there's photos of me dressed as Gene. So yeah, I'm a big nerd. I'm a big nerd for that stuff.
And then you went from being a fan to actually playing. Your grandfather bought you a guitar at age 14. Was that an acoustic or electric guitar?
I don't know if that was misquoted, but I was a lot younger than 14. I think 14 is when I got my first electric.
Okay.
But my grandfather bought me my first acoustic when I was like 7 or 8, right when I became obsessed with it.
Oh,
and
that's really young. Yeah.
Couple of strings broke. It was like a flea market guitar that the action was so high you just couldn't play it. So I spray painted it and did the whole crash the guitar on concrete just to practice my rock star breaking the guitar thing. So
yeah,
I did that when I was 8. But when I was like 13, 14, I got my first electric, which was a PV Predator, red and white. Like
that's the same guitar I had. That's funny.
Yeah, like do you remember like the Fender style kind of like PV Predators? They kind of look like a
yes. It was kind of a knockoff. Like mine was black and white.
Yeah,
yep.
Same one. I think they came in red and white and black and white and blue and white. I think. Yeah. But that was my first guitar. I had a little PV amp and taught myself how to play, and that started my whole march towards talking to you today. So
sure. So yeah. Besides Kiss, what other? I know you were kind of into the hair metal '80s rock scene. What other bands were really influential for you?
When I was growing up, I grew up in the Bible Belt South, so I was surrounded by country, gospel. But I was a kid, so I really liked what I thought was cool was like monsters and rock and fire and blood, like Kiss, and then I really got into Motley Crue. I was a member of the Motley Crue fan club. I still have my membership card when I was 8 or 9, and then the movie Decline of Western Civilization came out, part 2, the metal years, and my life changed. I was like, I'm going to go for that. And I did. And I've had a few successes along the way that were pretty cool. And I got to experience that. And a lot of people I looked up to are now my peers and friends. And, but yeah, a lot of people hide from their influence of the 80s, and I run to it. So.
Yeah, so you actually played a show with Motley Crue once, right?
I did. I played bass for a guy named Wednesday 13, who's a shock rock guy.
Yeah, kind of like a Marilyn Manson kind of, right?
Yep. Yeah, we did. In summer 2005, we had a video out on Headbangers Ball. We had a record out on Roadrunner. He was just coming off of a run with the Murder Dolls, and he had a lot of hype, and we got to play Castle Donington. We did all the festivals. So we played with everybody from Motley to Manson to Slayer, everybody. But Motley especially, Wednesday and I come from here, and we met, ironically, for the first time when we were a kid, like 15, at a Tough show with, again, this is all full circle, Stevie. But
who's the
later,
singer? He's the singer of Tough, and then he's now your manager, right?
Right, he's my partner in this whole thing, and he's a great friend. We've been friends since I met him at a Wednesday show at the Whiskey 15 years ago. But yeah, so Wednesday he did the Murder Doll thing, and then he got offered a deal, and we stayed friends. And since we loved the same stuff, he knew I was into. He calls me up and he goes, "Hey, you want to play bass for the band?" And I was like, "Yeah," just like boom, off to the races. And we were in Germany at Nuremberg. We were playing a festival, and he and I got invited by Nikki to hang out in the dressing room. So it was me, Nikki Sixx, Vince Neil, and Wednesday 13.
And what year was this? Sorry?
2005.
Okay.
And so and Wednesday and I were looking at each other like, how did we get here? Because two kids because his mom was a short order cook too, or is one. And so how we got here, that moment was like, you could have bought a million scratch off tickets and not ended up there. So that was really cool. And Nikki and those guys were great to us. We got to stand on the stage. They gave us passes, and Nikki invited me and at the time our guitar player Piggy D, who now plays for Rob Zombie band. Me, Piggy, and Nikki all went and we toured like all kind of stuff from like historic stuff he wanted to see, and I was just such a geek. I was like, dude, I'll go anywhere. I don't care. Let's go hang out.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, big fan. And that was kind of like, that was one of those moments where I was like, I could die now kind of thing. It was such a cool moment. And yeah.
So
dude,
did they have like a big entourage with them? Was there like crew and girlfriends and other people, or was it just like the 5 or 6 of you said, or?
Meaning when Nikki took it was just me, Nikki, Piggy D, and whoever Nikki's handler was,
Wow.
I guess, assigned from the local crew. And it was just the 4 of us walking around checking out stuff.
That's crazy.
And I've had the opportunity to meet Nikki again, probably 20 times since, and I avoid it because I had such a great day with that guy, and he was such a hero of mine. I'm like, dude, I'm cashing out, bro. I don't want to tempt it.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to run into that day. Everybody has a bad day. I don't want to run into him when he's having a bad day and ruin that. I have such a great memory of that. And but yeah, went from being a member of the fan club at 8 to playing with them in Germany. So it's crazy.
And then another person that you got to one of your heroes, you got to sing background vocals on "School's Out" with Alice Cooper.
Yeah, in that same year, later that year, we did like a 3-week run with Alice, and the last night was Halloween. And we were at the Grove in Anaheim, California. And, you know, we were timid and we were all worshiped Alice. And I saw Alice that day in catering. And I just said, hey, Alice, I just wanted to thank you for having us. This has been the thrill of a lifetime. And I said, I know you hear this all the time, but you've never heard it from me. When I was a kid for years straight, I wore your makeup to school on Halloween. And I was Alice Cooper for Halloween because that was kind of an easier makeup than Gene Simmons, and my mom could do it. And he kind of laughed and he was just like, well, look at this. Now you're playing with me on Halloween. I was like, dude, I can't wait to see the show. And he just said, be on the side of the stage at the end. And I didn't really know what that meant. But me and Wednesday were standing there, and Alice looked at us and was like, get over here. And he just put us on the background mic, and they did all the balloons and the balls. And dude, it was a nerd's dream come true. I felt like a Make-A-Wish kid, you know, like somebody came and was like, for real, you know?
No, that sounds amazing.
But that's just the truth. I felt like, am I about to die? Is this God's way of saying you had a great life? Because this does not happen to, you know, little chubby kids from Rock Hill without, you know, Wednesday and I had no connections in this business, no lessons from anybody. We didn't have a rich family. We come from poor neighborhoods. You know, I lived on a dirt floor with a crate, with a TV, with aluminum foil, watching Headbangers Ball when I was a kid. Like, to come from there to just accomplish that little bit, well, not a little bit, just accomplish that lot. You know, I was ready to cash in, but I just, you know, wanted to evolve myself. And when I after we did those few tours, it became evident to me that Wednesday and I were both songwriters and both front guys. And I was just like, you know, I got to do everything I wanted to do. Wednesday's one of my best friends. So I kind of resigned from playing with him to start my own project, which is Early Ray, back then. And the whole idea was, the older I got, the more I understood and liked country music, like Merle Haggard, Willie Nelson, Johnny Cash. I'm listening to them at 28, 29 going, I get it. I get what you're saying.
Because now you know how to struggle and talk about paying the bills and heartache and all those things. Like you get that now.
Right. So my idea was, you know what, I want to do something fresh and new. And I was playing with house money because I'd kind of accomplished all my childhood dreams in some ways at that point, I thought. And I was like, I just want to put together a country band because, again, I'm 6'4". You know, you go to these towns and you see people try to recreate the idea of glam, and it's like, dude, you're 50 and you don't look like Bret Michaels. You gotta get in your lane, bro. Like, but these people hang on to it and wear these wigs and look crazy. But I love the music, so I didn't want to approach it like that. I wanted to be myself, and I'm like, let me do something that's fun. I want to just, as a creative person, I want to step my foot into the storytelling of country music, but I want to see how much of the Sunset Strip 80s I can kind of insert through the back door and because country music fans, I will tell you, are most like 80s rock fans. They just want to show up. They want to leave their brain and their problems in the car and go have fun. They don't want to be preached to. They don't want to be, they don't want people to tell them how to feel about certain things. They just want to walk in, have fun, meet a girl or a guy, have a few drinks, party, hear some good music, party, and go home. And so that's kind of, when I went to a few of those shows, I'm like, this is a Poison concert, but I'm at a Jason Aldean show. This is a Poison show. And so that's kind of how it started. And yeah, that's kind of what I've been doing for the last while.
Yeah. So tell the story. I mean, I've already heard it, but tell my audience how you came up with or you didn't come up with, I guess it was your grandmother that gave you the nickname Early Ray.
Yeah, when I was putting the band together, I didn't want to call it Rayen Belchere because for several reasons. Nobody can pronounce or say my name ever. And so I was like, but I just didn't want to call it like Railroad Junction or just some generic name.
Yeah.
I wanted to give it something that had a little vibe. And my grandparents, this was years ago, so, all good, but they both passed away right around that time. And so I was thinking about them a lot, and I remembered my middle name is Earl. My grandfather's name is Earl. So when we would come in from fishing or, he would take me wherever, my grandmother would always say, there's Earl and Early Ray, because my first name's Rayen. And that always stuck with me. And so when we were coming up with band names, I'm like, Early Ray, that's easy to say and spell. That's my grandmother's nickname. Let's see if the .com's available. And that's always kind of the test, right? If the .com's available. So I got on the search. It was available. I bought it and trademarked the name. And, that I just felt like that was a cool tribute to my grandparents. It gave the project the name as a band, not a solo guy. And people seem to dig it. Yeah,
no, it's great.
And it's easier to find.
And you put together a great band. So let's talk about that, because you've got the Hootie and the Blowfish drummer, or I guess he does percussion for them, but he plays drums for you, Gary Green.
You're right.
Now, how does that work? Because he's technically still in Hootie and the Blowfish too. Is there ever a conflict there? Or?
No, actually, Mark Bryan, the guitar player from Hootie, was producing some of my stuff. I don't know, 12 years ago. He was working on some songs with me. We were working on them. The curly haired guy you see in all the videos, and his name's Mark Bryan. And while we were there, he goes, "I want to bring in a drummer to play on your tracks. He's great." And he was our percussion player. And of course, I was familiar with Hootie. Very familiar with Hootie because they're from here.
Did you ever go to the Hootie and the Blowfish monument in South Carolina?
To the what?
They have it's like a monument kind of thing. I don't know. I went there. It was it's in South Carolina. You never been to that?
Man, I don't recall. I've been to every Hootie thing. They do a thing called Monday After the Masters.
Yeah.
They have.
Put it on your nerd location list. I know we'll talk about that in a minute too. But anyways, yeah. So so they had Gary come in to play the drums.
Yeah, he comes in, he crushes it, and we start talking about Iron Maiden. And we start to bond over our love of 80s. And then the control guy turned around and he goes, dude. And we started just nerding out. And I was like, you said you came from Rock Hill? And he was like, yeah, I live in Rock Hill. I was like, me too. Where at? And we started narrowing it down. Turns out we lived about 200 yards from each other.
Wow.
So after when I was putting the band together, I called Mark. And Hootie was kind of on a break because Darius was doing country. And I called Mark and I said, hey, Mark, I just want to, be respectful. Do you mind if I ask Gary to play some shows with me? He said, absolutely not, man. Go for it. And so I called Gary and he's still in the band this many years later. But I certainly, when he has to go, Hootie is his big gig. But
sure.
when he has to go do that, we use kind of a sub, and we have a few guys we use, but he's the founding drummer / member of the band, and he's the guy that you see in the Apple Pie video.
Cool. And then
if you ever watch Hootie, he's the guy playing percussion.
Right.
Yeah.
And then, so the rest of the band's filled out by the bassist Carrie Brooks from the Indigo Girls, and then a fiddle player, Joanna Perry, and then you also had the Warrant guitarist play Billy Morris. Did he play just on Apple Pie though? He didn't play on any other songs, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. He came in. The idea actually came from Billy. Billy was a good friend of Jani's, and he was in the band Warrant towards the end, and Jani's solo band. And the original first conception of this whole apple pie flip on cherry pie started with him, and went to Stevie, and Stevie brought it to me 4 years ago, 4 years ago. But understandably, right, I didn't hold any grudges. But when I heard it, I'm like, there's literally one guy that's in current country music that's qualified to do this. Because in my opinion, country and 80s, you have to have a certain level of authenticity or it looks fake. You can look at the Motley Crue country tribute, and I rest my case. They used a lot of. Most of those people didn't know the difference between Motley Crue and Mott the Hoople. They just played the songs, and it showed. When you listen to it, you're like, these guys don't get it. And so I really wanted to bring in together the vibes of both genres. And I'm sorry, I got off track here. I'm just running my mouth, but that's how we ended up.
Yeah,
that's how we ended up here. And then a few years ago, when Stevie got the call, he calls me up and he's like, "Hey, check this out." And I call him back. I'm like, "I want that song, dude. Let me do that." And he calls Billy, and they wanted a bigger artist like Zach Brown or Al Dean or somebody on it. And I was like, "I understand." But I told Stevie back then, I said, "Nobody's going to understand this but me." And then back in January this year, I just called Stevie. I said, "Hey, I'm going to, Hootie's off tour, Indigo Girls, Amy Ray, they're all off tour. We're doing stuff with the band. I'd like to cut that song. Is it available?" And he calls Billy, and Billy goes, "Yeah, dude, nobody picked up on it. It's just sitting on a hard drive somewhere in Nashville." And so we tracked it down, and I was flying to LA, and I went to Matt Thorne's studio, who recorded Jani a lot. And because I wanted to do it in LA to give it that vibe. And the next day I was at the Rainbow shooting a music video with Bobby Brown, and Stevie got on board, and we finished the video about a month ago here in South Carolina, and here we are with a cool single and a tribute to Warrant and Jani Lane.
Yeah, no, it sounds great. I love it. Yeah, and that is cool that Bobby Brown, who she's in the original Warrant Cherry Pie video, she makes a cameo in this one. But let's go back for a second, because tell me, your friend, you kind of had a friendship with Jani Lane. Basically, you met him at the music convention. It's NAMM. I always forget what that stands for in LA. But tell the story about that. How you got to know Jani Lane.
Well, it's a little bit of a long story, but I'll touch on all the parts. When I was a kid, my first concert I ever saw, my brother took me, was Poison and Warrant on, I think, Flesh and Blood tour. And Joey Allen threw a guitar pick at me. And I was just so technically they were the first band I saw, and they made such a big impression. I was just such a fan. And then I just started to realize how much of a great songwriter Jani was. Like, I'd hear other bands in that era, and the music was, some of it would be disposable, but Jani always had lyrics that were clever, they were deep, they kind of approached things differently, and so it was on my bucket list as a kid. Like, I got to write a song with that guy, and I just liked his songwriting. And I was at NAMM in '96 or '97, and I saw Jani, and I was freaking out, being a nerd, and I stopped him and said, "Hey, can I grab a photo?" And I could tell he was not really in a good mood. And I just said, "Hey, man, thank you. I just think you're a great songwriter." And he stopped. He turned around and he goes, "What'd you say?" I said, "Dude, I'm just a fan. I think you're a great songwriter. I'm sorry to bother you." And he came back, shook my hand, and apologized and said, "Dude, I needed to hear that today. Thank you." And he goes, "Fuck that picture. Screw that picture." I'm sorry. Screw that picture. And he goes, "Screw that picture." And he stopped somebody walking and said, "Will you take this photo for us?" And we retook the photo, which you see in the Sludge article. And then years later, I was working with, years later, I had a band, and we were working with Mike Raphael from Jailhouse, working with John Kolodner's Portrait Records, trying to get it, work out a deal with him and John Weekland. We had it all set up. And when I was out there, we had to find an attorney, because we were on our way to signing a record deal. This was a band called Ultraside that nobody's ever heard of, but it was a band that I was in, and we did some demos. And so so a list of attorneys came at me, and one of them was Owen Sloan, and I was like, that's who repped Warrant, because I saw his name in the records.
Oh.
I want that guy. I trust him. I was 21, and at 22, I was like, I trust that guy because he repped Warrant. So he did the showcase at the Viper Room for management. So afterwards, all the managers who want, because once you have a deal, they all want to manage you, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we went up to the Rainbow, and to kind of interview with the managers to see who's a good fit. And I didn't know who was who. I didn't know who repped who. I didn't know anything. And I walked up to a guy, and he goes, "Hey man, you're a good songwriter. I don't have all night. What do I got to do to get you? Who do you want to work with? Who do you want to produce your record? Who do you want to write with?" I said, "Man, this is going to sound crazy," because back then in the, late 90s, glam rock on the Strip was like a dirty word. And I looked at him, I looked at the guy, and I said, "I don't know if you've heard of this guy, but I'd love to write with a guy named Jani Lane." Well, the guy I said that to ended up being Avi Steinman, who was Jani Lane's manager. So Avi, being such a gangster, and I love Avi, looked right over my shoulder to all the other managers waiting to talk to us on the patio. He goes, "Go home, guys. He belongs to us." And
wow.
I looked at him and said, "What do you mean?" He goes, "Hold on." And he picked up the phone, and the next day I was in Sound Arena in Van Nuys writing songs with Jani. And we kind of struck up a friendship, mostly over our mutual love of college football. He's a Ohio State Buckeyes fan. I'm a South Carolina fan, and we had just played each other in like the Outback Bowl. Oh. And so we were just bonding over that. And, we became buddies. We would run into each other. We chat and text occasionally during football season. We weren't best friends or anything, but we certainly were friendly, and we wrote songs together. We would run into each other, have a drink at the Rainbow kind of thing. And
wow. So tell me, what happened to those songs that you wrote together? Did they ever see the light of day?
No, they're sitting in my bedroom.
Oh.
No, there's three. There's three songs, and I never put them out because to me, it was just about the learning experience and getting to study with one of somebody I considered a songwriting master, right? You get to study with them. And I didn't really take it like these songs were meant to be released, but they're great songs. And if this apple pie thing generates enough interest, maybe I'll let a couple out, but wow. I'll have to re-record them. They're 20 something years old.
Well, yeah, but so you'd still give him a songwriting credit or whatever. And how does that work?
That's the thing. I don't know. If I dusted those things off, I would probably have to call, somebody and, and arrange a co-write and all that credit. But I don't,
I'd love to hear him.
Who knows?
I'd love to hear him. I mean, even if you re-record it just to hear, what you two came up with, I bet it was great.
And to further the story, this is a 20-year-old story. Mm-hmm. So when I was working with Jani, we come up with some songs. We had a good list of songs, and Avi goes, "Who do you want to produce the record?" I say Bo Hill, because he produced the first two Warrant records. I just went, because I was just a dumb kid from the South. I trusted what I knew. I'm like, Warrant, I love that. I want to use that same recipe. Whatever that recipe is what I want to do. And we next thing I know, we're in the rehearsal room with Bo. He was set to produce the record, and then all of a sudden, our big showcase day for the label, John Weekland, John Kolodner, our management, everybody, was September 11th, 2001. And as you can imagine, as that got, we actually ended up doing the showcase at SIR on Sunset, but as you can imagine, all the labels decided to pull anything new and not release anything new, much like right now. And we kind of got shelved. We all came back home to Carolina, and I maintained a good relationship with all those people because there were, none of us could have helped what happened. But yeah, Avi was great. He hooked me up. I actually wrote with Donnie V from Enough Enough.
Oh yeah, just had him on here.
Yeah, I wrote with those guys back then. I wrote with Rick Steyer, who played in Warrant and also was in a band called Kingdom Come.
Yep.
I wrote with Jason Hook from Five Finger Death Punch. I was just this kid with an acoustic guitar going around like, holy crap. And Yeah, man, it was like a dream come true for me back then. But Avi definitely hooked me up with Jani, and then when Jani was doing a tour of just a solo tour with Kevin DeBro, Avi called me and he's like, "Hey, do you know anybody? I'm doing a routing date," and I found him a date in Rock Hill at a place called The Money, and that was the first day. Jani landed, and they broke his Taylor guitar at the airport. So I don't know where it came from. I think somebody bought it and they sent it to him. So he played another guitar. He did the whole run, and he was coming back through town. I took him to the airport, and as he was getting out, it was a Guild acoustic. There was a lot of pictures of him playing it. He got out of my car at the airport, and I was like, "Hey, Jani, you forgot the guitar. It's in the trunk." He goes, "Keep it. It's yours. Write a hit with it." And I still got it today. So that's the last time I saw him. Yeah.
Wow.
So there's a lot of history, a lot of real history with that guy. Yeah.
No, I was a huge fan too.
Yeah, when people listen to the song and they think this is just some country bumpkin playing this Warrant song, it's a lot deeper than that.
Yeah, no, and I mean, you guys have some other songs with Early Ray that are great. The Fried Pickles and what is the other one called? Where the Wild Things Are. Is that what it's called?
Right.
Yeah, those are good songs. Yeah. So, and you guys have you've got to play with some. Besides, your rock bands that you played with, you got to play with some big country names too, like Chris Stapleton, Zach Brown Band, Eric Church, right?
Right. Yeah. When Early Ray was really heavy in the area a few years ago, he had a really good draw. And if anybody knows how this business works, if a band's on the come up, they usually put a good drawing local band on the bill to help ticket sales. And we were that band for about 3 years. At any time somebody came through and the tickets weren't moving that quick, they would call us up and we'd add a couple of hundred tickets to the bill and we get to play with them. But we played with Justin Moore,
Charlie Daniels, right? Then he just passed away. What do you remember about opening for him?
You want to hear another crazy story?
I'd love to hear a crazy story.
The thing I remember the most is when I got off stage that night, I got a text that Jani had passed.
Oh,
that's the night. Yeah, ironic.
That is ironic.
Yeah. So, but Charlie Daniels was absolutely a beast. Don't get it twisted. If people think he was only great on the violin, go watch him play guitar on some videos. He was a monster player, entertainer, and we got to open for him. A lot of those guys, and we would just get stuck on bills, and we go do the gig, and we'd meet the guys in the band. Next thing we know, they were huge superstars, and they come through, and they didn't need us anymore, and it's all right. But part of the history. But yeah, I've gotten to play with everybody from Slayer to Charlie Daniels. I don't know many people who've done that.
Yeah, that's a pretty good eclectic mix. Is there anybody that you haven't met or haven't played with that's on your bucket list?
Ozzy.
Ooh. That'd be a good one. I interviewed his bass player, Blasco, who's in White Zombie and also played with Rob Zombie and Ozzy. And so I think he felt the same way. He felt like that was the epitome. He's like, well, now what do I do? I've done everything.
Right. I mean, Ozzy is a guy that I was such a fan of and still a fan of. And I saw him one night in West Hollywood at the Hustler store. He was in there with a few of his people, and they were doing like a interview of him walking around the Hustler store. I guess he probably didn't even know where he was at, to be honest with you. But he was just walking around. But I was too scared to bother him because, again, I didn't want to meet him and when he was having a bad day and have my whole childhood ruined. So I kind of regret. Usually I'm the guy that'll speak and talk to people, but that one I kind of regret. But I hear he's having some struggles, and so certainly shout out and best wishes to the whole Ozzy fans and family. But yeah, Blasco's great. Blasco's the guy who actually put Piggy D from Wednesday 13 band. He's the guy who actually put him in Rob Zombie's band when he left.
Oh yeah, he told me that whole story about how he's like, I'm gonna leave and I'm gonna pick my replacement. You won't even know I'm gone. And I guess one of his friends was like, how did you play in both bands? Because Rob and Ozzy played together, and he's like, That wasn't me playing in Rob Zombie. That was my friend.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. He's the guy who, when I left the Wednesday Project, Piggy left shortly after, not for any other reason, because then he lived across the country and it was just tough. And then he had been on the bench for that gig. I think him and Blasco had talked about it for a long time. And so he finally got the call, from the minors to go to the majors. And he's had that gig ever since.
I know. Cause I talked to Blasco about that. Like, now, why did you give that up? Because although Ozzy's a good gig, you figure Ozzy's only got so many more years, whereas Rob Zombie, I mean, he's going to keep going for a lot longer because he's younger. And Blasco's like, I know, but I just wanted a chance to play those songs. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's called doing it for the right reasons.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah, 100%. He's a great dude and a monster player as well.
Absolutely, yeah. So you guys had some tour dates lined up with Early Ray, but of course the pandemic screwed everything that up. Now, can you guys collect unemployment as a musician, or how are you guys surviving with that kind of thing?
I can really only speak for myself because I don't really know everything about the other guys. Everybody's kind of just doing what they have to do. I take a few gigs here and there, outdoor patio gigs in South Carolina. They're letting them do it, but unemployment, no. Like, what's crazy is I've paid taxes as a musician literally over 20 years. It's been my job. And when I filed for unemployment, I called and they said, well, we don't consider this like a job. And I was like, well, yeah. I said, well, why did you take my money for 20 years of taxes? And they still haven't answered that question. And I'm still just getting by. And thankfully, my wife is a nurse, and so her job is a priority. And so she's helping maintain everything while we're kind of struggling through this whole pandemic. And hopefully we can get back at it soon.
Yeah, no, I hope so. How are you guys? I haven't checked all the states. I don't know. Is South Carolina, are they ramping up, or they feel like things are slowing down there? I don't know if you know, but Arizona is like one of the worst right now. That's where I am. So,
well, my wife told me back in, I want to say April, that predictions for this area being a hot spot was late June, July, and that's totally come true. Right now, we're kind of getting our wave of what kind of Arizona's getting, Florida's getting, South Carolina's getting it. We're not as cramped up like New York City or LA. So, if you want to, social distance and, kind of shelter in place, it's not as hard to do here. But yeah, it's certainly become a thing, but we haven't shut the state down. We haven't, there's regulations and stuff you got to follow. But so far, if you watch TV, they make you think South Carolina's on fire, but there's people who got it and I don't want it. I'm not smart enough to even know what it is. So I do my thing and I stay at home. I wear my mask. I don't ask questions,
Right. Me too.
I had a guy ask me a few days ago in an interview how I felt about it. I'm like, dude, I redid Cherry Pie. You care about how I feel about medical things? So I'm not the guy you should talk to, because I really don't want anybody to listen to me on that because I don't even know.
Yeah, I agree. I'm the same way. I'm just like, I do what the people tell me to do. I social distance and, I wear the mask and I stay away from people and until they say it's safe, then I'll come out, I guess.
Yeah, that's otherwise you drive yourself crazy with all the conflicting information, all the this and that. Like a couple of months ago, I just pulled the plug. I wake up. I think Bill Burr said this on Joe Rogan's show. He goes, you know what? I wake up. I go, where are we at? What's the rules? Okay. And then I go and I work around those parameters, and that's what I do,
Yeah, you're right. You could drive yourself crazy consuming all the information. I mean, it's literally never ending with all that stuff. You could just consume articles, videos, and all that. So
100%. And, my biggest thing is, I try to keep my immune system on a good level. So I go walk and I get sun, I eat fruit, I drink water, I take vitamins. To me, that's the things that will give me the best chance if I get it of survival. And I wear a mask. So, if it's in the cards, it's in the cards. But so far, knock on wood, we've been blessed and haven't gotten it or anybody in the family. So.
Yeah, that's good. Well, so when things do open back up, I noticed that I thought I was the only dork that liked to do this, but you like to go travel to like famous places for movies and album covers and music videos and stuff. So I saw you went to the Wonder Years house. You went to like Back to the Future, the Vacation movies. Like you have this whole like side project where you visit these famous locations.
Yeah, it started when I was a kid because, like I said, growing up here, there was nothing, and to me, Los Angeles was TV land.
Yeah,
and
me
so
too.
When I started to go to Los Angeles, I'm like, hey, that looks like Nakatomi Tower from Die Hard, and I was like, that is Nakatomi, and I was like, I gotta take a picture.
Yeah,
and then I'd see this, so I gotta take a picture. Next thing I know, I had a lot of pictures, and it became a hobby. And I literally thought I was the only person on earth that did it. Like I would find the Sanford and Son building, and I would find out the Karate Kid locations, and I was just a geek. And then I kind of was posting pictures for a long time, and a few of the people in that kind of subculture hobby found me and connected. And surprisingly, it's a pretty, I wouldn't say a big hobby. It's not, Pokemon Go or anything, but there's a lot of people who do it. And if anybody wants to see any of my adventures on Instagram, it's just nerd locations. But yeah, I document rock and roll history. I document movie history. It's more of just pop culture.
Pop culture.
Like.
Yeah, that's great. No, I do the same. I've been to, I'm a big Breaking Bad fan. So we went to New Mexico. We did all those locations. I went to the Goonies house back before they don't let you do that, but cause I'm from Washington, so I, drive through Oregon and California, do all that. But yeah, you've definitely been at a lot more than I have. So it's really cool to see all those. Have you ever had trouble with some of the, cause like when we went to the Breaking Bad house, we had these ladies, they came out and they sat in their lawn chairs and they just gave us a dirty look the whole time.
Well, this is going to sound a little bit wild, but it's just the truth. When you're 6'4" and you're a gigantic and you have sleeve tattoos, people let you take the photo. That's the experience
Damn
I got.
It. Not fair.
It isn't. But I had people would contact me and be like, I couldn't get into the chateau to take that Zeppelin picture. I'm like, nobody bothered me. I kept my head down, walked in, took the photo, walked out. The thing is, I think people look at you and go, he ain't bothering nobody. Let him do his thing. So I get away with a little more than a lot of people by that, I guess my size serves me to a point, like when I went to the Michael Jackson Thriller thing, street in Los Angeles, which is just Skid Row all the way. And I get out and about 4 people start to approach me. And I'm probably a foot taller than all these guys. And I knew it was going to be bad. And so I just turned on the Southern crazy switch and turned up the accent a little bit and asked them which one wanted to, leave without teeth. And they're like,
Jeez.
They all disbanded. Yeah, that kind of thing has happened. But,
wow.
I talk a better game probably than I have. But yeah, I did a picture at the Friday location.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a friend of mine go and take the same picture, and he got robbed. And it's just like,
oh, no.
Yeah. So you have to do a little homework if you're going to get into this hobby.
Yeah.
Do a little homework and make sure that you're prepared. But I would say 95% is just friendly, free and clear. You run into some of those jerks who it's like, hey, lady, if you didn't want people to take pictures, don't move into Walter White's house.
Exactly. Yeah. Right. That's what I thought.
Yeah. It's like, it's like being elected CEO of a company and getting mad because you have to wear a tie. It's like, come on, like people love this stuff. And by the way, that's on my bucket list too, is to go to New Mexico and get those locations.
Oh,
that's
yeah.
a great one.
Definitely do that. It's cool. And you get the Better Call Saul too. It's actually funny because it was like during the first season of Better Call Saul. So we went to the brother's house and the guy actually came out and he was like real friendly. And I was like, oh, this is like usually not what we're used to, but I think it was so new that I don't think that many people had kind of been hip to it yet. And so he came out and he was chatting with us, and he's like, "Hey, do you want me to come in and put the mailbox out? Because the mailbox where they put the phone in. I don't know if you watch the show, but I guess that's not even a permanent mailbox. It's like a temporary thing that they take in and out. It's not even a real mailbox, so it's kind of funny. But yeah, so you actually made your own movie, right? Neato, Mosquito. Tell me about that.
Yeah, like I said, I'm just a nerd, creative guy. A lot of people when they're out, the artists, and this isn't I think this is more or less maybe an indictment on how mentally unstable I might be. But most people try one thing, one genre, and that's what they do. And I would have to shoot myself if I had to play the same style of music from 15 to 50. You know, it's just like I wanted to explore. And when I was a kid, I was obsessed with movies. I'd watch National Lampoon's Vacation 5 nights a week on Betamax. And so in my 20s, after the Wednesday tour, I was like, I don't know if you're too much familiar with Kevin Smith's work, but he had a documentary. He had a documentary about quirks called The Snowball Effect, and it talked about how he just said, "Screw it, I'm making a movie," and he made it, and it inspired me. I'm like, you know what? I have all these ideas. I'm going to make a movie. I had no idea how hard it would be. I was a complete dummy, but thankfully, with the help of my partner in that, Brian Oxendine, and a few other people, and the cast and crew being really helpful and friendly and trying, we all kind of had a common goal to make this happen, and it came out. So if you like Super Troopers, Clerks, Napoleon Dynamite, and Juno, check out Neato, Mosquito.
Okay, well, yeah. Did you say it was free on YouTube too, or something, or how do we watch it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, just go search it on YouTube, and it was never a thing that I expected to take off. Actually, after we made it, I kind of was like, all right, made it next. And I've always kind of been that way with some creative projects. It wasn't so much I'm trying to be a filmmaker. I just wanted to do it.
Yeah. That's cool.
And experience it. And I'm actually have a few other scripts that at some point, may get turned into something. But yeah, it's called Neato, Mosquito. It's a little weird movie, and it's on YouTube for free. And if you collect DVDs, I have a few on eBay. They're like $10. So
cool.
Yeah.
So, and then besides that, I always like to end up with a charity. Is there a charity or nonprofit that you like to promote?
You know what? I really dig people that donate. That there's a group of people that go find GoFundMes for animals who are going through cancer treatments or stuff. There's a few shady ones, but you can tell the legit ones. And I think the most impactful thing you can do is go find an animal in need on there and throw a few bucks at them. That's my charity of choice. If I raise money, yeah.
That's really cool. Yeah, that's neat. Yeah. I'm sure there's a lot of animals that would be in need for that. So yeah, I never thought of that, but yeah, you're right. There probably is a lot of GoFundMe for that kind of stuff. We actually had to put one of our cats down about a year ago, and it was like one of the hardest things I ever had to do. But I was just like, I don't want him to suffer anymore. Like, so I just didn't know. So yeah, but sometimes, if there's something that you can do, a procedure that's easy or something, it's just sometimes expensive. So that makes sense.
Yeah, for me, and this is not a knock on anybody's charity, but you can, if you send money to wherever, you don't know where that money's going or who's chopping it up. But if just say you like cats, right, and you like certain cats, go type in cat health, whatever, on GoFundMe. There'll probably be 10 or 20 people trying to raise money. Find one that you connect with and throw a few bucks at it. That's what I do when I have a few extra dollars and my cup's flowing over. Not right now, but at certain times. Yeah. At certain times, it's kind of, I'll try to get back that way. And I see the immediate impact because they keep you updated on the animal, like post-surgery. And then when you see the animal doing great and running around the yard, you're like, you know what? I had a small microcosmic impact on this, and it just fills your heart up.
Oh, that's awesome. That's exactly why I always mention that at the end. I know it might be a microcosm kind of thing, but it's better than nothing, right?
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah. So you've done a lot of cool stuff. I'm sure there's more to come. I look forward to seeing more from Early Ray and also your filming locations. I'm going to follow that. Would Early Ray, would they ever tour over here in Arizona?
Stevie and I talk about it. There's been a lot of chatter about touring and who we would be great with, and that kind of thing. But
Mm-hmm.
right now is so uncertain. I think my gut, just from friends who are in the touring industry, it feels like 2020 is kind of written off completely. So
Yeah.
I think as far as touring wise go, we're probably looking at 2021.
Yeah.
But certainly Arizona loves to party and have fun too. One of my craziest nights I ever had in my life was I played a gig at ASU. Is that ASU, the Sun
Yeah.
Devils?
Mm-hmm.
Is
Yeah.
Jesus, you guys party like maniacs down there.
No, they definitely do. Yeah. And I'm like right at the heart of it because I live in Scottsdale, which is kind of in between ASU and then there's Old Town Scottsdale, which is just like a string of just bars just nonstop. And so, yeah, it's like I'm getting a little too old for all that stuff. But yeah, it's fun to go out. I love going to concerts and stuff. So yeah, if you ever come down here, let me know. I'll try to bring in a little as big of an entourage as I can to come see you guys play. Be fun.
Yeah, man. I'll buy you a drink and shake your hand and thank you in person for having me on your show.
All right. Well, thank you for being on. I appreciate it. Let's keep in touch.
Absolutely, brother. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.
So that's Rayen Belchere from Early Ray. Follow him and the band on social media. Check out his Nerd Locations page as well. If you enjoy the show, please write a review wherever you listen on iTunes or Spotify or whatever. It really helps out with that algorithm thing. And then also you can hit the subscribe button and then follow me on social media. That way you won't miss any future episodes. You can also check out the old episodes that I have. I got a back catalog of episodes if you like this one. Until next time, have a great day or night if you listen at night. And just remember to shoot for the moon.